Welcome everyone. Thanks for joining me today for my first Facebook Town Hall. For the last week, you have submitted many great questions on Facebook and Twitter for me to answer. I enjoy hearing what you are interested in and what your ideas are for improving this country. Today, I look forward to discussing issues that matter to both our country and to you as individuals. If at the end of today's forum your question has not been answered and you want to leave a message, please send me a message through Facebook or an email to loretta@mail.house.gov. I also want to talk about the services my offices in Garden Grove and Washington, D.C. offer for various federal issues on behalf of you, the people I represent. For example, if you have problems receiving Social Security benefits, my staff will work with you and the appropriate federal agency to try to resolve any problem. To receive assistance from my office, please go to my federal website at www.lorettasanchez.house.gov or call my district office in Garden Grove. It's at 714-621-0102. You can also use my website to subscribe to my weekly newsletter that contains information on upcoming events and legislative action by the Congress. So I've been working hard in Congress and at home in Orange County to try to shape the future of our country. We really have experienced one of the worst economic crises ever, probably since the Great Depression. The state of the economy has been the biggest concern for everybody, as we have seen unemployed individuals looking for work and businesses hesitant to hire them. So these days, my top priority is creating jobs, fighting for our small businesses, of course, educating our children, and making sure that you have health care access that you need for your family. It is all about recovering our economy, getting Orange County back on track, and moving us forward. So, our first question today is about the economy. This is from John in Anaheim. He asks, how can Congress incentivize American corporations to bring jobs back to America? So, John, thanks for that question. I know that that's on a lot of people's minds. People are angry when they call a phone message center and they hear a foreign English voice, or when they see their jobs going away and hearing that their company has moved something. So we really do have to look and see how we reform and encourage business to invest and create jobs in America. As a Californian, it's always been my goal to create an environment that fosters innovation, where businesses are competitive. And to continue that innovation and growth environment, I believe Congress should re-examine our corporate tax structure, and we have to pass meaningful corporate tax reform. Recently, former President Clinton suggested that we lower the corporate tax rate to about 25%. But we must not risk raising other taxes as offsets, such as capital gains, which I believe is crucial to entrepreneurship and America's ability to invest in startups. So I suggest that we do look at lowering tax rates, and we take away these tax loopholes that companies have found to move profits overseas and to move jobs overseas, and that we take a look at the tax code, and that we get rid of things that just don't work, that really don't move our country in the right direction. So any reform made by Congress, I think, would be better than what we currently have. Successful corporate tax reform, which has to be supported by both parties, would go a long way towards increasing the United States' competitiveness around the world. Now, any change in the U.S. tax system must be part of a larger tax reform policy that extends benefits to the middle class, and honestly, we have got to end the Bush tax cuts for the top 1%. So Richard has asked me in a couple of posts for Congress to lower taxes for all in order to improve the economy. Richard, we have lowered a lot of taxes, and I believe that we need to really take a look at that tax code, and we need to help the middle class in particular. we also have to look at that 1%, because those tax breaks for the very richest Americans are needed. They're needed to bring down our debt. They are needed in order for us to have the safety net that we're currently required to have in order for our seniors not to fall into poverty, and in order to get our young people trained up again and educated in our universities. This is incredibly important. So I believe that the extension of the Bush tax cuts was really the wrong way to strengthen the economy and create jobs, because we haven't seen it happen. I mean, first we heard, if you just will do this, we put it in for 10 years. Didn't work. Then we heard, well, let's put it in for another year. We did. Still hasn't helped us get out of this very difficult, get the money out there and get people employed. Now we've extended it again, and still corporations aren't putting the money in. They're sitting on about $2 or $3 trillion worth of money on their balance sheets. So we really have to look at how some of the wealthiest of Americans will help us to bring down our debt and to help the middle and working classes in Orange County, who have been hit the hardest by the recession. So I do not support the extension of tax cuts for the top 1% of earners. Now, our third question comes from Whitney, a recent graduate of Chapman University. Yay, Chapman is my alma mater. Whitney asked me how Congress can help her overcome the burden of her student loans. Whitney, that's a great question. The current economic downturn has hit recent college graduates particularly hard. College tuition, especially in California, continues to rise. In fact, the LA Times reported that California actually leads the nation in the escalation of college costs. California's public universities enacted the highest average tuition increase, more than 20% of any state. Many students in California are burdened with substantial debt that sometimes it seems insurmountable. But recently, President Obama has taken concrete steps to make life easier for students who have borrowed money to pay for their college education. He announced just this past week that he will issue an executive order to reduce the maximum percentage of income that students will pay toward their student loans to 10%. More than 1.6 million current students will also be eligible for loan forgiveness in 20 years instead of 25. So President Obama's new student loan debt payments program will really be a lifeline for students who dream of a college education but cannot afford one. It is great news for millions of Americans getting by month to month, and it will help to bolster our economy by getting people back on their feet. And for you soon-to-be college students, don't miss out on assistance available through the federal government to help you get a college education. The free application for federal student aid, or FAFSA as we call it, is a form that you have to prepare. It's located at www.fafsa, that's F-A-F-S-A, .ed.gov, www.fafsa.ed.gov. And you must fill it out in order to determine your eligibility for federal and state student aid. And if you're like me, well, I went to school on a federal Pell Grant and on a California Grant A, so you can do it. But you must fill that form. The deadline for the form is June 30th, 2012. It's important to fill this out as soon as possible because early applications give students a better chance of receiving the best financial aid package available. The Department of Education also offers a free website, www.college.gov, to help students with college readiness. And please, we've got some people who actually work on these issues in my office, so call my office if you have any questions. Students, please do not miss these free opportunities. So our next question comes from Enrique. Enrique, you asked a great question here. I have already answered the part regarding student loans, but you also said, what can Congress do to help with unemployment? For those of you who are at home, Enrique is a teacher, And in light of our current budget situation, the state of California has laid off many teachers in recent months. First of all, Enrique, I want to thank you for preparing our children for tomorrow. My mom was a public school teacher for about 19 years, so I know the type of work you do. Now, remember that stimulus plan that Congress passed in the first year of the Obama administration? It included $100 billion to help education. I voted in favor of that. And Orange County alone, the school districts in Orange County received $278 million of funds to help keep teachers in the classroom. But now that money's phasing out. And the economy is still not good, so a lot of teachers and classified employees and others are getting pink slips or just not getting job offers anymore. And that's why the president included in the American Jobs Act $30 billion in funds to help states retain, rehire, and hire educators, as well as $5 billion for first responders. That would be our firemen and our police force, for example. Unfortunately, the Republicans have refused to take up the Jobs Act. They did not pass it in the U.S. Senate. Job creation is the top priority of the American people, and it's time for Congress to get off the sidelines and invest in the teachers and first responders who make our country great. Now, many of you have asked, what am I doing to educate our students for a global economy? And I'll tell you, I believe that a quality education system will not only enable America to compete in a global economy, but also propel this country's economic recovery. For that reason, I have reintroduced the Global Education Nexus in United States Act. We call it the Genius Act, formerly known as the U.S. and World Education Act. This bill provides grants to support international education, foreign language-focused professional development for teachers, really to teach and to bring into the classroom a global perspective for our students. It would also provide grants for extracurricular programs focused on international education and foreign language to continue students' engagement on these issues outside of the classroom as well. The importance of international and foreign language education for our nation's future cannot be overstated, and I am proud to champion this bill. Now, Ruben asks, what have I done to help to prevent foreclosures? Wow, this is really a big issue in the district, as you know. Last spring, I, along with my Democratic colleagues, stood against the Republicans' efforts to repeal the funding we had put in for key housing programs, such as the Loan Modification Program, the Federal Housing Administration, or FHA Short Refinance Program, Emergency Homeowners Loan Program, and the Neighborhood Stabilization Program. In fact, Ruben, I introduced 2 amendments to help keep struggling families in their homes by making mortgages more affordable. My amendment to the FHA Program Termination Act would have created a program allowing eligible homeowners to apply to refinance a 30-year mortgage at a 4% rate. Think about that. We have a lot of people locked into higher rates, 8%, 9%, 10%, and they can't refinance because their home is what we call underwater. But under my amendment, you could possibly do that. Go to a 30-year loan at 4%. That brings down the rate of your payment during the month, and it helps the family. And of course, my amendment to the Emergency Mortgage Relief Program Termination Act would have delayed the termination of the Emergency Homeowners Loan Program, which offers mortgage relief until the unemployment rate declines to 7.5%. And in our area, it's at 11, 12, depends on what month you're looking at. So this would affect a lot of people in the central portion of Orange County in particular. Unfortunately, my Republican colleagues rejected my amendments and voted in favor of repealing all of these key programs. If these hard times have taught us anything, it's that our prosperity is, and always will be, tied to the prosperity of our neighbors. If the struggling family on your block is foreclosed on, you'll likely feel that effect. So we must work together and extend a hand to the millions of homeowners whose houses are hanging in the balance. Now, it's time to wrap up, but I'd like to thank everyone who wrote in and asked me their questions. And to my viewers, if your question has not been answered and you want to leave a message, please send me a message through Facebook or send an email to me. My address again is loretta@mail.house.gov. Please remember to like my page on Facebook for all of my latest updates and photos. And thank you for giving me the privilege of representing you in Congress. It's an honor and a privilege. And I hope to meet you someday in Orange County. Have a great day.